Oh, all right, cool. And now we go into the final thing that we're going to talk about. And this is a Netflix documentary series because I have started getting into Netflix documentary series or documentaries, full stop, because Netflix do some really good ones. And I think they've been putting money behind them because A, they seem to get a lot of attention and they cost a lot less than actually making a film. So this one is called Bad Sport. And the whole idea behind it is that each episode of it focuses on a time when you had a scandal in sports. It could have been financial, it could have been something else. And for instance, they talk about the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City when there was a figure skating scandal between Russia and the US. Was it USA or Canada? I think I think it was USA, where they had the scandal between them as to how there was a judging scandal and it came out and it was kind of like, oh, without hang on, how did they get the gold medal? They couldn't get the gold medal because da, da, da. And there's a bit of that. There's a bit about Hansi Cronje, who was the South African cricket captain who got done for match fixing. There's a bit about a racing driver who started his own team and he was like a really really good racing driver and everybody was wondering where did this team come from, and then they found out that the entire team was bankrolled by weed money because this guy was a massive weed smuggler who
Oh my goodness.
who pretty much started smuggling weed so he could pay for a racing team.
Money laundering,
Yeah, yeah,
effectively.
pretty much. It was kind of like it was. Hang on a second. Sorry. So and it's essentially. And you can see that the guy, and so it's really interesting because it comes into the sort of intersection between where sports meets something bad, because the whole idea behind that, I mean, even now it's in the public eye because I'm not sure, you might have heard stuff about F1 and about the F1
Yeah.
deciding, which I was watching that live and I still can't really talk about it at the moment. It's for me, I look
Too
at that.
raw.
I look at that and I go, that was a miscarriage of justice. That was it, essentially. It's made me feel like that sport is a joke. Like the integrity of that sport of F1 as a sport for me is kind of in tatters at the moment, in my personal view. So much so that I'm not thinking about watching it. And this TV show essentially looks at all those sort of moments where something has happened in the sport that essentially calls the integrity of the sport into question. That makes you go, what actually went on here? Sport's supposed to be this ideal. It's supposed to be this thing that we strive for. It's supposed to be the purest form of who we are as
Mm.
humans. You have them and you win and you lose on merit and all the and this documentary series looks at what happens. I mean, I think the title "Bad Sport" is quite quiet Netflix. What is going on? What is going on? So I think at the title. Sorry, stop playing the title. Yeah, I think the title of Bad Sport, obviously, because that's like a saying when you say, "Oh, that's oh no, bad sport. He was a bad sport." But also the fact that it just looks at when you have this thing that's supposed to be pure, and then it gets corrupted by something else. Almost kind of like there's a bit of a way it looks at, almost like looking at the human psyche and what about us makes us crave for something that's so pure and unadulterated, and what about us cannot let that pure and unadulterated thing just stay and destroy it. So looking through the title, looking through the names of the hoop schemes, that's one about college basketball in the states, which is really really big business, but none of the players get anything. So players at universities in America are not allowed to earn any money from playing basketball, but everybody else involved, the coaches, the TV show, make loads of money from college basketball. But the players, there's a rule where the players are not allowed to get paid. They get a scholarship to go to the university, fine, but day to day they don't get paid. And there was a really really interesting thing about a guy who was a great player, it looks like he was set for the NBA, but came from a poor background, and what that whole thing about not being paid did and drove him towards. Need for Weed, I've already spoken about. Football Gate, there's the one that's about it was called I think a Calciopoli scandal in America, in Italy, where they had match fixing of certain big clubs saying who they wanted the referees to be, and it goes into it. That's almost like a mafia story. I mean,
Mm.
sorry to use the lazy thing of mafia because it's Italy and all that, but it's kind of framed almost like we're going into this investigation to try and bring down the mafia. Gold War, yeah, it was Canada. It was Canada. That's between Russia and Canada in the ice figure skating pairs. The gold medal. What happened there? Oh, there's an episode just called Horse Hitman. which
Horse Hitman.
yeah, Horse Hitman.
That
And
racing.
yeah, like racing
Oh,
horses, and it's all about somebody who was a horse hitman for insurance. Uh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
horrid.
It is horrid, but some of these things it's eye opening for the sports that it talks about. There's things about this sport that if you're not into that sport, you'll be like, hang on a second, I didn't know that.
No.
Wow, and then you realize, and then when you start going into what actually drives people to do these things, and
Well, when
and
you start looking at how vast sums of money gets bet on these things, I suppose that
yes,
introduces a different element, doesn't it? Because it's not just about two equally matched competitors battling it out for honour.
yeah,
When you start saying, okay, that we don't want to leave to chance what had cost me millions upon millions of dollars or millions of pounds.
yeah,
So as soon as you get that element of let's reduce the risk of losing our money, you then start
yes.
getting the element of corruption, don't you?
Yeah, yes, you did. But I thought this was a brilliant series. It was a brilliant
Yeah.
series. There's only like 6 episodes that have been made so far. I'm pretty sure they're going to do a second series, and it just really just makes you go wow, wow, oh ooh ooh wow. And some of the things that are revealed in it, I think, are some of them are heartbreaking. Some of the human interest stories are just affecting, and some of the scale of some of the corruption is just like wow. So all in all, I would give Bad Sport a ooh.
Oh,
You see, now this is a personal thing where personally I think I would give it a 5. Pers-
wow. Well, if
person
it holds your attention and it's done in
yeah,
such a way,
and there's nothing about it, and there's nothing about this series that the way they tell the story, because I watched another documentary and I had so many notes, that I would have written to the makers of the going, guys, could you do that? Could you change that? Could you do that? This isn't really clear. But I mean, this holds you, takes you all the way through it, and it spells it out very clearly why the sport was such a big deal and why what's happened to murky the sport was such a big deal as well.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I think I'm gonna have to give it a 5. I think
Well,
yeah,
well
I think
done.
I'm gonna have to give Bad Sport a 5. I was thinking for other people it would be a 4, but I'm thinking, it's supposed to be my own personal thing, and I think it's a 5. Yeah, Bad Sport's a 5. All right, cool. So all that's left